Yeah, if you're going to go like Australia's top gamers, you can't, like, you got to be careful when you do something like that, you know? Obviously, we all have the big gamer scores.
Big dictator.
I don't really have like a big ego about it, so I kind of feel a bit weird.
You want to buy a clock with your score on it that goes up
This-
every moment of the day?
Personal use. That's my
You want
personal
to
use.
sell them.
No, you cannot sell them.
You wanted to sell them.
Hello and welcome to the first episode of Avocation to Climb, a new gaming podcast featuring 4 of the top Gamerscore holders on the Xbox in Australia. Well, let's be honest, 3 of the 4 and 1 Sony pony coming at you. It's my pleasure to present tonight Mephisto for the win, the current number 1 ranked Gamerscore holder in Australia, Jeremy J1, he's hot on his heels, and Rogue 1992. All of these dudes round out the top 3 Gamerscore holders. I suppose we're all equal hosts in this project. I'm Sony Pony to you, CJ, from the Push to Plat podcast. You know, a bit of a Sony pony, I think it's fair to say, and current number 2 holder, trophy hunter in Australia. So what is an avocation to climb? Well, it's a minor hobby or occupation, but I think as you're going to find out as we go across this year, perhaps it is not as minor as it seems. We all love games of all forms, but we've come here to talk about the Xbox. We've come here to talk about leaderboards, about Gamerscore, but most importantly about the games that we love to play. We're going to be hitting you around once a month or so on all good podcast providers. And because this is a new show, we need your help. That's right, you sitting there listening, you sitting there gaming. Let us be part of your journey, but spread the word. Help us to grow. Help us to sort of embed ourselves in the community, because, you know, you might get a few laughs out of this, out of the banter that is to come and the ribbing that is ensured with these 3 fine gentlemen. So without further ado, why don't we kick off? And I'd like to introduce first Mephisto for the win. He has a staggering 1,506,575 gamer score. Mephisto, how are you tonight?
I am very well, CJ. Thank you.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself to start us off?
Okay. Well, as you said, number 1 currently in Australia. Just hit 1.5 million gamer score. Been playing Xbox ever since achievements were a thing. That was my first Xbox console and never really looked back from there. What else is there really to say? I like simulation games, I like easy games, and I play them all.
That's perfect. That's all you need to say for the moment, I think.
Well, that's I don't think you can be number 1 without playing them all, can you? Really?
Well,
let's be
we're
honest.
going to find out if you have any secrets in that closet shortly. But let's jump over to Jeremy J1. He is the recent number 2 gamer in Australia. He is like a bloodhound on Mephisto. He intends to be number 1, I'm sure. In fact, I made the misassumption that old Mephisto was slowing down the other week, and I prematurely congratulated him, saying that I thought he could get there this month. I've been proven staggeringly wrong. He's about 11,000 gamer score behind on a staggering 1,492,800 gamer score. Jeremy J1, how are you tonight?
Hello, everybody.
Can you tell us a little bit about your gaming?
Okay, well, my gaming is quite a bit different, and that's even an understatement in its own respect. I mean, when I actually started gaming, I wasn't really taking the gaming seriously. Like, I wasn't a beast, I wasn't a bloodhound, I wasn't a maniac, or whatever else describes me today. I was just playing games for fun, and I was not really even aware about the Xbox achievements or Gamerscore or anything like that at the time, because, well, I wasn't really like keen on that. And then it's just like, okay, well, I'm playing these games for fun. I don't really see my stats and whatnot, and then it kind of hits me. Okay, well, if I'm really gonna do this, I need to start taking seriously, and I really started turning it on in 2015. That was probably the first real deal that I started turning on, and then 2016 was good, 2017. But that's nothing compared to what I have already done last year and what I have already done this year. I have gone how much? Probably at least almost 610 plus thousand in the last 2 years alone. From last year up to halfway this year already, thanks to Neo Geo, Isahaka, and Extarion, basically, and maybe a few other players. But back in the day, I wasn't really serious. I didn't get into Xbox until like much later on. In fact, I didn't even play the original Xbox. So that's a very good story there. I didn't actually get the Xbox until like much later on. I was more into Nintendo and PlayStation back in the day. Like I had PS2, started getting the Xbox straight away, and I didn't start off gaming until much later on, but yeah, look at me. I mean, now I'm just like, what the heck? I mean, I just turned into this beast, and I gotta be quite honest, I never expected to be one of those people. But that just goes to show that anybody can do it, and well, if I could do it, then about really anybody can do it if you put your mind to it, and really. That's inspiration if you want to become the next Gamerscore beast one day.
It's very, very
Look,
true, sir,
yeah.
isn't it? I mean, $10 a controller and 2 stacks of Zidalon, and you can be the next millionaire gamer scorer. But look, we will get further into that shortly. I want to introduce the next host. Now, you can't have a podcast without a colourful, controversial character. There's another C word I was going to use, but I'm going to go with character. This is a man that will probably claim, he'll bend our ear, that he doesn't really game at all, yet he has somehow managed to amass a staggering 1,455,904. That's interesting. Gamer score here. It is Rogue 1992. I don't want to sell you short in any way, sir, but how are you tonight?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, CJ. How are the rest of yous?
Good. Surviving, I think. Is it a fair comment? Like we were just talking a little off the thing that you do like to take long breaks and then just come back and hit hard.
Well,
Is that the?
Yes and no. I like it. It comes down to this here. Like, I want to enjoy what I'm playing, and if I'm not enjoying what I'm playing, I'm not going to play. So I'll have a break. So currently, the last couple of weeks, I'm playing Rust. Rust has pissed me off because the game's fucked. Fuck that game. So I've went away from that there. I've done a little bit of scoring the last few days. So I thought I've got to do something before the start of the podcast. But mainly I've just been watching telly, watching a bit of TV for the last little weeks and that really, because you burn yourself out too much if you just keep going.
That's right. So, look, if you've just stumbled on us, everyone here is qualified. If you don't know me, look, I am an Xbox a fraud, I suppose you could say. I am the number two ranked Australian gamers. Number 2 ranked Australian PlayStation. I don't know. Well, we don't have a fancy word like Gamerscore. So basically, that means I've just. A trophy hunter, yeah. Look, I am converting. Basically, that just means I have slammed a stack of Asian VNs. But it is wonderful now to be on a system that has some real games, which we're going to get into tonight.
Ooh.
But before we do, I've got to ask each of you.
That's
It's the seminal question. Why don't we start with you, Jay? When did the addiction for Gamerscore kick in? Was it a particular game or a particular achievement? Do you remember?
Well, for me, I really don't know if it's so much of an addiction as it is like trying to convince myself like if I really want to be well known, if I really want to get recognition for what I do and I can treat myself as a serious player. I mean, as soon as I started to realize that I could get game score really quickly from like 2015 onwards, I mean, that's when I had to turn it on, and I kind of had to think I don't know if I really should be thanking the game, honestly, because it's not like the number one game, but it's a good example. One of the games that probably convinced me to really start putting on was Halo the Master Chief Collection because I got 100,000 on the dot with that game.
Nice.
So, back then I was just like, oh, well, I'm just going to go for these milestones and then, I'm probably just going to stop. And, but long story short, I didn't stop.
Yeah.
It's hard to stop, isn't it?
Yeah. It is.
You just can't stop at 100,000. You can't stop at 500,000. And hell, you can't even stop at 1 million anymore.
You can't.
Because soon that's going to be the game score that everybody will be able to have within, well, maybe not everyone, but like 500 people could probably have that in like the next, 5 years if they try hard enough.
Yeah.
Well, it's like smoking. Nobody likes a quitter. Nobody likes smoking.
I like that. Was there a particular game for you, Rogue, where you felt the addiction kicking in, or has it been a slow
I
slide?
first started playing in Xbox. I was in Canada in I think 2007 for about 4 to 6 months, about 6 months, and I had to stay in the apartment we was in for about a week straight, waiting for a dishwasher to get dropped off. It was me, my brother, and a mate who was over there. I was like 15, something like that. Anyway, or washing machine. So it was a washing machine. So I'm sitting there waiting, and there was a Xbox in there with Oblivion, and I put like 200 hours or something stupid into Oblivion over that week. And then when we came back to Australia, EB Games was doing the deal where if you bought Guitar Hero, or you traded something in, if you traded something in towards Guitar Hero, you could get Guitar Hero for like $25, like 2 games. But Guitar Hero traded in for like 180. So we did that there a couple of times, and we ended up getting an Xbox for like $200 back in like 07. So we did that there, and I just started playing Conan and the few games I had then. Basically, whatever I sort of had, I'm just playing. And I didn't go out buying everything back then because it was what it was. But yeah, just I suppose Oblivion was probably the first game I really started to go for achievements and things in. And then yeah, just sort of went from there basically.
Well, it's actually kind of funny that you mentioned Oblivion. That was my very first ever game completion.
Nice. Yeah, it's a cool game. I've got the Jap version, but I've hardly ever played it.
I haven't done the Japan version, but I probably will one day.
One day.
I buy all the Jap versions and just don't play them. I've got like 38 of them sitting in the cupboard.
38?
Yeah, different games, different bits of this, bits of that there. And yeah, they'll start sending them to like, say, Mephisto or Madeyepadeye or someone else.
And I thought CJ was warming with the Asian visual novels.
Yeah. Well, we've got a few of them too.
They're not
It's a
too.
common
They're
disease.
not too bad. The visual novels. If you, I mean, it's like Steingate. Steingate, the show's brilliant. People won't play the game. Will skip through the game, but the game itself, I don't. Well, I never actually played the game properly, but I know on PlayStation you can play the game in English, and people did. But the show itself was brilliant, so you should watch the show if you played the game.
That's very true. And Memph, is there a particular game or time you felt yourself sliding? Or
It's hard to pinpoint. I got to like 50k kind of naturally, just not even really caring about Gamerscore. I was just playing through the old Gears of Wars and original Crackdown, and just playing and enjoying gaming. And then I thought I might try and find out how high 50k actually is. I stumbled across TA and I saw that it wasn't very high, because by then it was probably 4 or 5 years into the 360's lifespan. And then I saw there were people that would specifically go for easy games, and I had a Blockbuster like 2 streets away from me where I lived at the time. So I went there and I was, I can hire this for a night and get the 1,000, and that's where it kind of started. So the first game that I kind of did that was your very original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the 360. That's probably the first game I ever played just for kind of Gamerscore. And then from there, I kind of, probably doubled my score from there pretty quickly, and I still wasn't really anywhere. But it really, really kicked off when I kind of met Rogue, because I knew of Rogue before I'd really met him, because he was doing competitions and things, and I kind of wanted to get to that level. So I'd bought myself a Japanese 360, and I had the American 360, and kind of bought a whole heap of games off Rogue and spent my life savings there, because that's what he charged, and kind of weaseled my way in. And from there, we kind of took the Gamerscore competitions by storm for a big period there. Won a couple and met some interesting people along the way, and from there I haven't really looked back. I suppose it's just got crazier every year, and now it's even more crazier. It's yeah, and like Jeremy said, you can't go back now. There's kind of no stopping. It's like the avalanche has happened, and it's just flowing out, and it's just never going to end. I can't even do what Rogue does and have a little break for a couple of weeks. I just can't even do that. It's just I get home and from work and easy games on straight away. That's what it is. So
yeah. Yeah, I like that. And as we sort of said at the start, listeners, the whole point of this is it's not some sort of show that's going to be like structured with your your segments and stuff. It's just going to be a sort of a discourse, I suppose. Because one thing I noticed in the PlayStation community is while a lot of top trophy hunters knew each other, from the boards or whatever, there wasn't a lot of communication going on. There wasn't like a lot of insight into how they played or what they were playing or even what they thought of what they were playing. And, like it or not, these three gentlemen tonight, they put in a ton of hours and they're not, believe it or not, they're not just Ratalaika spammers or, East Asia of spammers. They pay a wide mix of stuff. So this sort of a platform, I suppose, is going to give us a chance to sort of get into their minds, what they think about how maybe achievement hunting is changing, what they think about the games they're currently playing, and just all this sort of stuff with the sort of overall context of the fact that they're all locked, within about 30,000 or so gamer score of each other at the top of the boards. And as we've heard, they're not about to slow down, I think, in any way. I think that's a fair statement. Like, none of you are about to retire by the sound of it.
No, no.
Hell
even
no.
even if Jeremy passed me, this month, next month, and Roe comes back and he jumps past me, I don't think I'll ever kind of retire, if that makes sense. I'll always play like this, and I think I've said it before in my blogs that if what my score isn't, what I do isn't good enough to keep first, then so be it. Then other people deserve it. So I don't think I'll retire because I quite like getting Gamerscore. As weird as that sounds, because I kind of like it.
And let's be fair, if Mephisto had to retire, wouldn't Smirnov and Redemption and all the men retire? Because he's outscoring all of them.
That's true. That's true.
That's right. That's exactly
right. Why don't
we
have a look at that? Because as I said, there'll be listeners from around the world with our shared feeds with Loot Bros and a few others, well, wherever you're listening to this too, I suppose. They may not understand just how much gamer score the three of you are sort of earning and how quickly you are. So, Memph, I know you have this wonderful blog here. I've got the numbers if you like, or if you'd like to do it, go for it. And just to give everyone the sort of idea of, how much you're sort of making so far this year. And I know you've contrasted to Smirnov, as Rogue says.
I have, yes. So, well, to strip it right back, I suppose, if people don't know exactly about Gamerscore, every game, for simplicity's sakes, has 1,000. We'll get into Zidalon a bit later, but every game has a base 1,000 points. So it used to be back maybe, I don't know how long ago, Rogue, what would you say? 120k used to be a good year, but that was probably, I don't know, 5 to 10 years ago?
The X1?
Yeah, the X1 changed the landscape. But back then, if you were doing...
When the X1 first came out, that was about 100 grand, 130 grand, 40 grand was a good year.
That was good top tier world pace, 100 grand a year. Now, it's all flipped around, and we'll explain a bit more later, like I said. But if you're not doing 1,000 G a day, you're falling behind. You're not keeping up. So that's, what's that, 10 years? You need to be doing triple the score. So 1,000 G a day is the numbers you're probably holding your position in the world leaderboards at 1,000 G a day, I'd say, even probably climbing it slightly. But we're a bit crazy, and we are all doing more than 1,000 G a day. And I've got, like you said, I've got the numbers here for June, and I've got our yearly totals here. So this doesn't include the, how many days we are into July, the 10 days in July. And basically, to simplify it the most, well, for June, Jeremy, I'm not speaking for him, but he did over 50,000 in just over in June. So that works out to be about, my quick maths, roughly about 1,600 a day. So that's a game and a half a day. And I was a bit below that. I did 44, and as we said before, Rogue was on a bit of sabbatical, and he did 20k. So still nearly 1,000 a day, even though he's taking a break. So, but for the just to bring it all back to the world leaders, there are the two that I've compared is Smirnov and Redemption, and up until the end of June, Smirnov had done 160,000. He's the world leader, and Jeremy had done 80,000 more than him for the year. So in
what?
Yeah, in what's that?
Are you actually serious?
Yeah, well, it's actually
8,000 more than Smirnov, the number one gamer in the world.
77, if you want me to be exact, 77,000. So I did round it up, but yeah. So in the first 6 months of the year, you're 77,000 gamer score ahead of Smirnov on the year, and I'm about 25, and Rogue is also 60,000. So we are gaining on the world leaders rapidly. Obviously, for any, I don't know exactly how it is on the PlayStation side, but Xbox gamers will know the early July has gone crazy. So the numbers are probably going to be even higher due to Zidalon. But as I said, we'll get back to that a bit later, sorry. And Redemption's even done less than Smirnov. So he's done 10K less than Smirnov. So where you've nearly done, Jeremy, yourself, you've nearly done 90K more than Redemption, who's second in the world.
Oh, that's just
So
unbelievable.
it's just bonkers. And I thought to myself late last year, I thought, because I was, I don't know if Jeremy knows this, but he got pretty close to me as we both got to 1 million, and I just started blasting at that point because I didn't really want to give up being. I didn't want Jeremy to be. I didn't know Jeremy then. I didn't really know Jeremy before today, to be honest. But I didn't want him to overtake me then because I think you were within. I don't know if you remember, but you were probably got within about 9 or 10K of me. 500K ago, and that's when me and Rogue started going crazy, and Rogue went back past you, and so last year we did like over 1,000 G a day for the year, and this year we're gonna beat that comfortably again. So it's just I, it's hard to put a perspective on it because of how crazy it is. But I suppose Jeremy and Rogue can talk more about it because they can probably express it a bit better than me. It's just the gamer score landscape has probably never been like this. It's just the numbers people are putting up are crazy, and we are even beyond them. So if someone wants to talk about that more, they can, and give me a little break.
Yeah. Well, why don't you go first, Jeremy? Because you sound in shock of the numbers there against the number 1 and 2. Obviously, you didn't feel that the numbers were maybe that substantial, but it has changed a lot, the landscape.
Well, yeah, it has changed a lot, and honestly, I didn't realize that we were really pulling those numbers as well as everything. But maybe we should also remember the fact that a long time ago, a very, very long time ago, I mean, before Gamescore was really a thing, I mean, there wasn't like a definitive, oh, this person is going to be the number 1 gamer in the world. I mean, back then, there wasn't really a thing like that. But,
No.
then Stallion came along and he was number 1 for like 6 or 7 years. And then Smirnov was trying to overtake him a couple times, and he finally did do it on Canada Day, and then he got taken over by Stallion again, and then he officially overtook him, and he's been number 1 for like 3 years now.
Mm. Yep.
Which honestly is an indication of him, being, just the king of the world. Now you have to look at me all of a sudden within like the last 2 years to 3 years. You can even go back to 2019 if you really wanted to. But I
Yep.
probably wasn't even at 600 and maybe 70. And now I'm about to hit 1.5 million in just under 2 years. Like, seriously.
That just, sorry to jump in, but that just shows you that if anyone wants to and are committed, they could do what we do. Like what we do. I'm saying that it's crazy and it's bonkers and all that, but anyone could do it. We're not like crazy. I'm Rogue's pretty good at most games, but I'm not great at games. I'm not amazing. I'm not like esports level, not even close. I'm average at best. I just have an affinity to Gamerscore and I can do it, and I do it pretty well. And it's just I don't know if you're the same, Jeremy. Do you class yourself as like good at games, or do you just class yourself as good at
Well, I'm
Gamerscore?
good with some games. I mean, if anything else, I like to try and push myself to try and be good at the genres that I am actually good at, but I also want to try and improve at the genres that I'm not so good at. Like, let me think for a second. I'm not the best at racing, and I'm not the best with strategy games, and sometimes I struggle with understanding the whole metric system with like trying to strategize with like troops for those real-time strategies. I don't
Mm,
really do well with those games.
yeah.
I'm honestly you know probably the best according to me anyway. I'm probably the best at platformers and action adventure games and maybe a few shooters along now. But Sometimes I have a bad day, and sometimes I don't do well in those genres here. But unfortunately, it doesn't matter if you don't consider yourself to be a good gamer. You don't have to be anymore to be a god gamer.
Yeah,
That's right. Well, for me, it's fighting games. I can't do them, which if you've ever looked at my tag, you'll see I've got heaps of Neo Geos unplayed because I just can't do them.
I literally cannot do the combos for the life of
Oh,
me.
I'm shocking. So, yeah, it's not like I'm amazing at games. It's just I just like Gamerscore, I suppose. I suppose it's Rogue can come on and tell us how he's amazing at everything now.
Just before you do, Rogue, I also want you to, I wanted to sort of maybe include in your answer whether you think it's a good thing the way it's changed as well. If you could work that in, that would be awesome.
To be honest with you, I couldn't care less.
Yeah.
I score what I score. If it's there, I just do it. It's. I mean, to be fair, look, everyone's going on about these Ziltion games, whatever you call it, and they're stamping their feet and they're shouting up and down and there's all this here sort of crap. I'm just like, but the game takes me 10 minutes. I walk to the toilet and I walk back and the game's done. I mean, why is there 900 comments on a forum post about the game getting a title update? To make the best of it, the people that are complaining have we've got 16,000 Gamerscore. You played 2 games in your existence, and you're gonna punch holes in the walls. For some reason, your missus is running the police on you because she thinks she's in danger. You're angry at the fact Ziltion's out of games. But the only games you've ever put on your tag is Gears of War 1 and Halo Master Chief Collection, and you've just maybe, played FIFA 19.
Are you okay, sir?
He's firing up, but look. To further your point there, Rogue, I love this TA. Like I love a good trophy or achievement site at the best of times. But I love their poll, which alludes to what you say here. Do you approve of Zidalon's easy gamer score title updates or not? Yes, the whores that are being honest, 29%. Yeah, sure. No, 36%. I was surprised that because most gamers are whingers, so I thought that would be a lot higher, despite the fact they're all playing these games. But what was encouraging was that the don't care was almost as high as the no, which is wonderful.
God, that was such a clickbait poll. Like, wasn't it? It was designed to get these whingers out and about.
They're like the ones that complain. They're like, "Oh, we need completion percentage, or we need TA score." Let's have a look at TA score for a minute, because everyone's TA and it's all TA score and all this shit. You take a game, right? Let's go with Real Politics. 4 people have beat it. Well, I beat it. 4 people.
That's why.
It's
so your ego.
It's really. It's not hard. It's fucked. The game is fucked, and that's what the problem is. But 17 people have played it, or 30 people have played it. So is it really? Its ratio might be 1.9. So is it really a 1.9 game?
Well, is it?
I mean, no, it's not. It's like an 8,000 TA. It's like an 8,000 game. It's ridiculous.
Right. So you're saying it's inflated.
Yeah.
So you're saying. Basically, what you're saying is that there's Zitalon or this poll about how it's ruining Gamerscore. There's extremes at the other end that kind of balances it out. That's what you're trying to say.
Well, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. Yeah, if I'm gonna play a Ziltion game, whatever it's called, and smash it out, and then play this other thing. Do you know what the best ones for? You look at these Game Pass games, and everyone just downloads them because they're free, and they play for 5 minutes. And they go, "This game's shit. Why have I downloaded this?" And you delete it. But then you've counted as playing it now, so that ratio goes up because you played it. What's the difference?
It's not a perfect system. No, it never will be.
The fact you've got all these people complaining, I tell you what, if that's the worst thing that you've got going on in your life, then you must be something. I need to take lessons from you, because if that's the worst thing that's going on in people's lives, then fuck me dead.
But see, this is what I'd be interested in the three of your opinion. Like everybody on the boards, that's got, halfway up the boards is going to be playing these games, at some point or whatever else. And the top end, everybody's doing the same thing. And we have this same thing on PlayStation. Yet if you read the general community is like, these are the worst things in the world that you could ever do. You have no value in what you're playing. You have no, idea what you're doing. It's just the worst thing that's ever happened to gaming. Yet like 90% of people are playing these, which I find fascinating. So obviously the people whinging are also playing it. Like, how do you take that? Do you just think that is it this, inflated, I've tied my ego to my gamer tag or whatever else, and I can't win at Gamerscore, but I can win at true whatever it is, the ratio that you're talking about. Like, what's going on?
Well, I think that's what that's their argument. Like, they're saying that now it's because it's inflating so much gamer score is going in, it's ruining the TA score, because you could play a hard game and get, your 3,000 TA in a hardish game, or you can chuck on one of these Eidolon games and get 3,000 in 15 minutes. Like, TA score, kind of like gamer score, has never really meant anything. Ratio means even less. Like, I just think if you want to play these games, play them. If you don't want to play them, don't play them. It really is as simple as that. But you can't complain. If you choose not to play them, you can't really complain that people are, I think. It just doesn't make sense to me why you would complain about it. If people are jumping you in what you choose to track yourself in, well, that's on you for not playing the games that will help you improve where you're tracked, whatever statistics you track, doesn't it?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Like, so why are you complaining? Sorry.
That's true. Well, now, look, I want to ask you, because, look, I've played all manner of crazy shit in English and not English, obviously, across systems. But even I had to sort of, check myself this week and go, come on, what the fuck is going on? When I played the Synchro Hedgehogs, which is basically the butterfly game with hedgehogs or whatever else. Has there been a time in this last week in particular, or 2 weeks, of playing this stuff where you've just checked yourself and gone, yeah, like, this is fantastic?
Well,
does no one want to admit that?
I don't know.
Am I the only one that sees the
it's
similarity?
fantastic for Gamerscore, but it's not fantastic as a game. Let's just put it that way. I mean, the fact that you can even do a game like that and try to convince people that it's not anything like you have ever played before is honestly just a total joke, because it is exactly like the butterfly games. I don't know why people wouldn't say so otherwise. It's literally a carbon copy of Butterfly.
It totally is, isn't it?
Well, you've got two things you got to watch. Two fucking caterpillars you got to dodge. There's a few bits there where it was a bit of a fun you didn't realise, and the one caterpillar would walk off the edge, and you're like, fuck's sake, I'm going to go back now. But, yeah. I mean, it's this here. The fella's happy, he's making money from his games. Who knows? If he sells enough of these games, he might release a Gears of War, or a Halo, or something good.
He won't. But go on.
You know what I mean? You might get something good. You won't. Of course you won't. You'll get him driving a Lamborghini and giving you ping pong.
I did like 50 years, to be fair.
That wasn't too bad.
Yeah, that was.
The ones that actually have you doing stuff aren't bad. Like, was it 50 years wasn't terrible. I didn't even find the Castle and Escape that bad, because you actually had to do stuff. You had to run around and find the bits and pieces, which, yeah, they were 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but they weren't terrible. Yeah, they were short as anything, and if you paid anything more than $6 for them, you'd feel like you were going to be sick because it wasn't worth the money. But it was what it was. I mean,
okay. Look, I've got to admit this, and I'm going to put it out there. Of course, these little games, they sometimes have like a little trick or something else, or perhaps, my brain has degenerated so far with so many spam games now that I get trapped by them sometimes. And I'm happy to admit that I did need to wait for Mr. Cheevo or whatever to put up his 5-level extension on. I think it was the Butterfly 2, the Window 10 got the next lot of Gamerscore or whatever else. There was one that I couldn't quite figure out or whatever else. I'm sure that didn't happen to any of you. You guys must be just over the top of these sort of things now, or is anyone else going to admit to having to use a guide for any of these things?
I use not the Butterfly games and stuff like that, I don't, but I decided stupidly to play Escape Sequence without a guide, and that was the worst decision I ever made, because that was actually pretty tough. And I thought going in it was just going to be another simple game. I could just blast through it. I don't need to find a video. I don't need to spend the time doing that. And normally I'm pretty cautious and always have my guides ready to go. And I got halfway through that and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm missing something here. This is harder than it needs to be, I'm sure, because people were finishing it in, well, definitely under an hour. They were, some people were 45 minutes. And I'm like, I'm halfway through and I've spent like 45 minutes. What am I doing? So, yeah. But normally I'm following guides for pretty much everything.
I'd say we all followed a guide for that. I'm sure you did too, Jeremy. Of course, that's the sort of game that works perfectly for a text guide. I don't know if you use the text guide or you're trying to
Yeah.
figure out
You want to
the
know which level
video.
was the biggest pain to have to follow a guide for?
Yes. What was
Even for
going on with level
text,
10?
level 10.
Oh, the
Why?
frozen wall.
Why level 10? For God's sake, man.
If you wanted to read a James Joyce novel, you would. Why, when they know the game is just being bought for gaming whores,
You're
why
basically
did you
almost
have...
repeating the same action like 4 or 5 times on the wall.
That's right.
And if you make one more nail, you have to go all the way back to the beginning. You have to do it all over again.
Yeah.
If you don't remember which input you put in the first place, which is so annoying for a puzzle game in the first place.
Yeah.
Because I have actually done that a couple times before for that puzzle game that I did like quite a few years back. That one with the swimming and whatnot.
I'll swim out.
What's it called? The swim out. Yeah, that was a
Yep.
bit of an annoying game to do too.
Yeah.
Because that one has a few of those levels that like have some very complicated solutions, and I mean real complicated.
What I liked about that level 10 was, because I know the three of you, you're getting value for your money, you're getting the full score. I looked at that thing and I thought, fuck no, and I actually stopped on level 9 for both stacks because I'm not going to do that at this
I
point
don't
with my
blame you,
life.
honestly.
Maybe later. But look, I want to come back because, as we said, listeners, this is just it's almost like a stream of consciousness type show, and we forgot to really get into Rogue's history and stuff like that. So I'd like to come back. Sorry, sir. Could we do that now?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Well, why don't you tell us about it?
About what?
Well, look, I want to know.
Yeah, sorry. I was distracted. I'm buying things on. I'm buying NFTs on the other page. Yeah. So basically, because this is going back to where we were a minute ago, and everyone's gone about how to score and whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, it's like this here. I think me and say Jeremy there scored about the same last year. Difference is Jeremy did that in 360 odd days. I did that in 150. So
Because you take breaks. Yeah.
Well, it's because I'm ruthlessly efficient. I mean, if I was to score if I was to play I mean, let's be real. If I was to play 365 days a year, I'd be in the top 30 right now.
Yeah, you would.
If what happened at the end of our final GTA SE year didn't happen, I probably would be at about 2 million now. But having like 2.5 years off after that, what happened and all the terrible, terrible tragedies that happened at the end of that year, it was what it was. But as I say, it is what it is. It's like this here month, for example. Mephisto was saying last month I did 20k. Yeah, I did 20k in the first 8 days of the month, and took the rest off. But it is what it is. I mean, by the time we end up having the next podcast, I could very, very easily be 20 or 30k in front of Mephisto. So it just is what it is. But it's all. All these easy games, all these shit games, they are what they are. They're shit. If someone asked me what I was playing, I'd probably tell them I'm playing a steaming pile of shit. Like, why are you even looking? Why? I don't stream often because, well, for one, I can't interact with people on the stream because I'm in the middle of doing stuff. Plus, probably I don't have many viewers. But no one's who's going to tune in to watch you play Butterfly? Who's going to tune in to watch you play this? And who's going to tune in to watch you play other? I played Police Stories yesterday, which wasn't a terrible game to be fair. About 3 hours, it was still short. But I mean, if you're that's another game. That's another thing I should mention to you. If you're going to complain about Ziltion games and all these Ratalaka games and things, why aren't you complaining about any game that's less than 5 hours? That's still going to cost you like $20.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the difference?
That's right.
Short game's a short game.
These games have been out from the start, haven't they? It's really.
Yeah.
Like, there's more now, but they have been around forever.
I mean, it's like the same people. They'll complain about Call of Duty. Call of Duty is an 8-hour campaign, a 10-hour campaign, for the most part. But then they'll complain about the Elder Scrolls or Fallout because the game's glitchy. But the game's a 300-hour game. You've got Assassin's Creed's another one. People complain about Assassin's Creed. Oh, it's the same shit. It's this, it's that, it's whatever. But I mean, you're going to put 200 hours into it, so is it not worth the money? If you're going to pay $25 and you're going to get a 2-hour game, or you're going to give $60 and get a 300-hour game. It is what it is, but yeah. I'm sort of rambling now, so I'll get back to you there, CJ.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, and I know we've sort of stacked on these games or whatever, and I don't want to finish on a negative note, obviously, and listeners, we're sort of in truth being told, one of the cool things about this project is that I think Memph and Rogue know each other, but I don't think Jay hasn't known them. I haven't known any of them really to talk to, so it's sort of a feeling out phase. So I'm learning a lot. I'm quite enjoying it. I'm loving the police stories. I'm going to add that to my list as well. Thank you, sir. But one of the things maybe we could just sort of shift to as we sort of move to the end is that, I said at the start, we don't only play these sort of games. We play other games as well. So maybe so that the audience gets a bit of a feel for where we're coming from in the future, we could just talk a little on, our favorite genre or what we like to play when we're not playing the short Gamerscore games. And I know you talked about Rust recently, Rogue, and one of the great one of the great, maybe that's not one you like, but one of the great things on that was that I love on the system there, it tells you who's playing what or whatever else, and underneath there, for a couple of hours, perhaps you're taking a break at this point, it just said Rogue playing Rust, lying dead on the ground, and I thought that's wonderful, and it was there for a few hours as well. So I love that. But obviously, why don't we throw to you, because we sort of hijacked the whole beginning of this episode. What do you like to play then?
I like to play strategy games. That's what I do. I like to play strategy. I mean, I play everything. I like strategy games on the Xbox. I'll play League of Legends on the computer. I haven't played League in a while, but I was a Challenger Jungler, which is like the top rank in OCE for a fair while. That was in the period when I stopped gaming properly on Xbox for like a year and a half. But yeah, basically strategy games, those sort of games. Your fucking battle royales, just the normal things, to be honest. Nothing, not nothing super special. Just whatever's decent, basically.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's not the normal appetite for a soul, achievement whore, I don't think. Jeremy, what do you prefer to play?
Okay, well, first of all, I just want to, even say, like at the beginning of the show, I did mention that I don't just play Xbox, I also play quite a bit of Nintendo as well. So, sometimes when Xbox, just wants to be, the same old, I rely on Nintendo to really, play me. And as I mentioned before, I like platform and action adventure, and you could probably already have a fair guess of what I'm into with those two genres, Mario and Zelda, because they are platform and action adventure. So I have pretty much played almost every single Mario and Zelda game, and I can actually say that no matter how bad even some of those bad ones are, I didn't play them by the way, but even they can be better than the games that we decide to play at the end of the day, because at least they actually do not ask us to do unnecessary things. But then again, it really depends if you want to put yourself through that or not. But I grew up with those. Well, I really grew up with more and more, but those are like the two franchises from Nintendo that I really appreciate these days, because they actually know how to make games. Xbox doesn't always know how to make games. Let's be quite honest with that. They don't always know, and Nintendo has been way more consistent than they have ever been at actually being able to make games. And it hasn't just been more and Zelda either. I played a couple of Kirby games, and I have played maybe like the one or two Donkey Kong games. Those are fun too, and I probably play a few other Nintendo games, but that's not the point. I mean, Xbox hasn't always been able to do it in exactly the same way that Nintendo has done it, because when you look at any all-time list, Nintendo pretty much dominates the list, and you want to know why? Because a lot of people actually find the games fun, and they're never really constantly repetitive, and they're not the same game either. Even if someone's going to complain and like be, oh, this Mario game is actually very similar to this one. Oh, look at this, Aussie. It's a sandbox remake of Sunshine, but it's actually not a sandbox remake of that game. It's like its own brand new game, plus paying respect to the older Mario games that I loved back in the day, and that's why that game works. Those are the games that I actually appreciate. Turning something old into something new and actually making it enjoyable again, and actually creating the standard that I love today. Because really, if it wasn't for Mario and Zelda, I don't think I actually would have ever gone into gaming, period. Like, I didn't even know if I was even going to like those two franchises. And Really, if I had to be asked, what's the one or two franchises that got you in the game, it would be Mario and Zelda from Nintendo. Because I'm being quite honest, if it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Well, that's fair. Nintendo, consistently put out good games, whereas, well, in modern times, Xbox has not. So I think all those points are pretty fair. They are.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Xbox Game Studio still has a few good games out there. I'm not saying they're bad at all. I'm just saying they haven't always been consistent. That's the key word right now. They haven't always been
Yeah, but when
consistent with them.
there's like fucking 9 times more Xbox studios than there is Nintendo studios.
Well, they keep saying games are coming, so I suppose we just have to be patient, and whatever dribs and drabs they give us, we gobble them up and see how we go. I suppose. Hopefully, they can. They're doing pretty well from what I can gather, Xbox at the moment, and as long as they keep producing good games, they'll be fine. We'll all be fine.
Well, what we would like to see from especially the Xbox as often as we are going to see it, and I hope we're especially going to see it in the new generation of consoles, is more variety of brand new games and not just going back to the same game for the 900 billionth time. I swear I better not see Minecraft for Series X, man. Because I do not honestly
Totally
want to
are.
have to stack that game again.
And you
I'm just
will.
saying, we need fresh new games. If the Series X is going to give us new games, we better see them. Like, I don't want to just play the same game over and over again. I want to with the new generation console, I want to actually play newer games. I want to enjoy a brand new experience.
Yeah, I think that's gonna. I mean, that was the long draw card for Sony or whatever else their exclusives or whatever else, and
Well, yeah, I was actually going to point that. I mean, they have the games that we all want to play, and sometimes they're only Sony exclusive. And if they're not Sony exclusive, well, they say they're Sony exclusive, but then they have it for 6 months, and then they stop being Sony exclusive, and then they might go to other platforms, but they're not necessarily go to Xbox. It's like how, well, we might use an exclusive on Xbox, and then it goes to Sony, which I think we did actually do one time. So Xbox is not really that much different, honestly.
no, not at all. And I think it's funny. It's always a grass is greener on the other side because I always hear from Xbox gamers that they go forth and buy a PlayStation. They do so for the exclusives and they might just cherry pick and pay one or two. But the reality is, the more of those exclusives you play, you start to realize Sony makes one game. Their first parties make the same game. Highly
Yeah, well,
cinematic,
right now PlayStation
linear.
is not winning the exclusive battle. Right now, Xbox is owning them because of Bethesda. So there you
Yeah, of
go.
course. So I think you're going to get a good diversity of games through the
A
Xbox.
lot
I
of the
really
games
do.
that are actually going to be coming on the Xbox are going to be Xbox exclusive only. So nothing coming over the PS4 almost, except maybe for the one Bethesda game,
That's right.
maybe.
It's because they're buying everything. There's nothing left.
Yeah.
Mephisto, what's your preferred? I mean, I already know, but maybe you can explain why.
Well, as I said a bit earlier, I quite weirdly like the simulation genre. So I play a lot of train sims and city builders and anything that kind of has any kind of management elements. I quite get into. So I'm very much looking forward to Flight Simulator later this month. And even though that's not really going to be a Gamerscore game at all, like the furthest from it, I think I'm still going to put a lot of time into it just for what you know, the way I play my games. I normally, I not that long ago, I used to just do 1,000 G a day and then put on a game I liked. But nowadays, I can't do that quite as much as I used to. But I still try and always get to the simulation games. So it's I I've said it. I think I said it to you before, CJ. I don't even know what it is. I can't put my finger on it exactly. It's just, I guess it's just everyone likes something, and that's just what I like. I quite had, even though I can tell most people won't. I quite enjoyed Treasure Hunter Simulator that came out last week. I pretty much played it in one go, finished it in 8 hours, just didn't turn it off. I, I just, I don't know. I just really liked it, and no one else will, but I did. And there's no one that's going to, be playing these games for fun like I do. I wouldn't think so. Yeah, I'm a bit of a weirdo, but I think everyone in this Gamerscore kind of universe is a bit of a weirdo.
Yeah, I like that. So that gives you a sort of, I suppose, a rough an introduction, if you like, listeners, to who we are, what we're sort of playing, and where, I suppose, where this will sort of go, because, we've all alluded to what we're maybe going to be playing in the future or whatever else. And I think by coming back once a month, and I know, many of you are used to a weekly podcast, God help us all, that crap on and on about the same things. It'll be quite fresh, I think, having this much time between it, but also the fact that the sheer number of games we're playing. I thought before we started recording tonight, they're probably, and I mean, you never know who's living under a rock, but most likely between the four of us, we've put more hours into gaming than almost anyone in Australia. So it'll be quite exciting to see what we come up with over the next month, and where we sort of go. So I don't know, guys. I think that seems like a good natural spot for us to stop on, if you're happy with that, or if you want to throw out anything else. Yeah,
Well, I
go for
do
it.
want to just quickly throw out what my favorite gaming genre is, if you
Oh,
don't
please.
mind.
Yes.
Even though I like platformers and action adventures and shooters as much as I do, my favorite genre is role-playing games because I really like to immerse myself into what I actually want to do, and I'm actually given that choice to do how I want to do the game. It's not just doing the main quest straight away and just beat the game. I like to take my time with the side quests and the main game and actually get more variety from the game. So that's why role-playing games are my favorite genre.
Yeah, I like that. And Jeremy, I can tell you there's this lovely little game. It's on Game Pass. You can come and join me if you like. It's Elder Scrolls Online, just an afternoon or two to make up, and
No.
we
Hell
can have a bit of fun there.
no.
Play it,
I'm
Jeremy.
not spending 1,000 hours on that gold crap. No
Come on.
way.
Come
Sorry,
on.
no. If I'm not paying that game, if I'm not paying Sea of Thieves, if I'm not paying Fortnite, I'm not paying that one. You're not going to sell me on otherwise.
Sea of Thieves is okay. I don't know why you're shitting on it. It's okay.
I have heard about Elder Scrolls Online, and it's been a PC game for like a long time before it even came on Xbox. So why the hell does it have to take so much long to do? Well, I'll tell you. Because they have the two most annoying things ever. We all know about the Emperor achievement, yes.
Yes.
Oh,
But there's also something almost just as annoying, the fishing achievement.
it's worse.
Right.
It's
And
worse.
why is that really bad? Well, it's pretty uncommon to actually get all the fish to fish, and you have to be pretty good, and you have to get a bit lucky too. So that achievement is pretty bad too.
Look, I don't know what your problem is. An open world MMO with a bit of ZeniMax jank. You never know what's going to happen. It's a wonderful
No, that's
experience.
always my problem. I don't like MMOs.
No, look, I don't
Sorry.
blame. I don't blame you at all. So I want to thank you three guys for giving up some time tonight and joining this, a Sony pony, I suppose, that came out of the blue and is really trying to insert himself into the community to meet some wonderful gentlemen like yourselves. I suppose now is the perfect opportunity if you'd like to sort of shout yourself out, or if you've got anything going on like this, or you do this sort of thing. I don't know. By all means, do where people can follow you or see your progress. I suppose. Do you do that
Well,
sort of
there's
thing, Jeremy?
actually one more thing I do want to
Yeah.
mention, guys. I don't think we talked about it all, and I do actually want to mention it. There is a
Mm.
game coming out on July 16 called, is it West's Night? I think it is West's Night. And it has 50 achievements linked to 50 different gamers in the community by
Oh,
Chewy Dog
yes.
Interactive.
Yes.
They're shouting out 50 different members of the community, and I actually think that that's a great idea to respect the community and actually give back to how much they actually care about them. I mean, that's actually a great initiative, and I'm actually kind of happy that they actually did that because we really should get recognized for what we do.
Yeah, that's right.
Carnage is there, Sangarez is there, Cheaper Guys is there. I watch a lot of his guys.
Anyways,
Ah,
So I just wanted to quickly mention that game.
Mephisto, did you want to shout yourself out, shout out your blogs and whatnot?
well, I suppose, right? Yeah, it's just on True Achievements. I blog monthly, much like this show will be. Just keeping our stats there and talking about the craziness of our scoring, and yeah, that's about it. I don't really use the socials much, but maybe I could be persuaded to down the line.
You know,
But
if you jump yourself on Twitter and start having a bit of an engagement on Twitter, you might start getting some. You might be getting a clock.
maybe we'll set up a Discord and what? Did I miss something?
If you jump yourself on Twitter and you start having a bit of a gas bag on Twitter, you might
Yeah.
end up with a clock.
Clock. Yes, I'd love an LA Metric clock. LA Metric, great company. Great clocks.
Next month, Memph will be reviewing the clock.
Haha.
Thank you in advance for sending us the
I
clock.
promise. I will.
That's wonderful. And Rogue, do you want to shout yourself out? I know you stream sometimes.
I stream a little bit at rogue_992_ because I lost I forgot what my password was for my first Twitch. I don't stream
course.
often, but you just want to come over and say hi, say hi. You can see me on Twitter at rogue_992, where I'll talk a little bit of shit about NBA Top Shot and some other shit, basically. And yeah, that's about it.
That's perfect. And Jeremy?
A very thank you guys for actually making this like really fun. This is probably the first time I actually been in a real broadcast, to be quite honest. So I want to thank every one of you for making this an enjoyable time, and I'm definitely going to be doing many more of these in the future.
It's good.
I think I'm on board now.
Oh, good. I'm glad I lulled you into a false sense of security.
Yeah.
So that is wonderful. So there you go, listeners. These three gentlemen, they are wonderful. Rogue, of course, Jeremy, J1, and Memph. You can find them on the top of the boards. You can follow them, which is a wonderful feature on the Xbox, where they don't know you're following them, I'm told, and you can snake their lists and see what they're playing. Get all the latest, quick and easy games. That's sure as hell what I've been doing.
Jeremy,
It's been one.
Can I say one thing, Jeremy? If you don't want that to happen, all you've got to do is go on your account and set yourself to private.
I know.
Where am I going to get my ideas from? Don't do that.
At some point, we're going to have to stop hiding from each other.
Yeah, true.
Because honestly, I don't think we can hide anymore.
We can run, but we can't hide.
You can run, but you can't hide.
That's right.
Don't get close.
Sorry, Math.
True. I'm trying to run.
You're trying to run.
No, not really.
The chase is going to be over soon.
Is it?
Don't wait, sleeping dragons.
Oh, it might. You said yourself it could happen any day now.
It could. Yeah.
I could be number one within the next month or two.
Oh, not even. Was it Chin Doctor said something like that? There.
It's true. That's true. I was called slow once by somebody, and then slow at Gamerscore, that is, and ever since then, smash. So
We're happy to be mentioned the number 4 guy either. I mean, Eden is also killing it as well, so I would keep an eye on him as well.
I'll try and get his stats up a bit more for next show because I thought I'd just keep it to us three. No offense to you, CJ, just because we're on the show. But next week I will talk about Eden more because
the three of you better keep Eden covered because I can't extend any more bridges at the moment to people I don't know in the Xbox community. So as long as you stay ahead of him, I'm sure he's a wonderful gentleman. But we'll keep him at arm's length, well, at least for now. So as I said, thanks so much for joining tonight, guys. It's been wonderful. If you are a PlayStation gamer, it's never too late to rectify your ways and to come across to the Xbox. It is a play anywhere system. It's a play everywhere system. There is nothing to play on that system on the PlayStation at the moment anyway, so you might as well check it out. Go and turn on the PC, the iOS, whatever device you've got, you can play. Give it a dabble, and if you don't care for that, then come back and listen as we go through the rest of this year, flinging insults and jibes at each other, and hopefully playing some wonderful games and maybe even some wonderful Xbox exclusives if we are lucky. Thanks so much, guys, for tonight.
No worries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, DJ. It was an absolute honor.
You've been listening to Avocation to Climb, the journey of 4 Australian gamers, cheevo whores, and general larrikins, I suppose you could say, as they chart their way across the games, the Gamerscore, the jabs, and of course, the laughs. You can catch myself, CJ Sony Pony to you, Memphisto for the win, Rogue 1992, and Jeremy J1. We'll be back at you in a month or so. We're going to be on all good podcast providers and YouTube, and because we're a newly established program, we really need your support in pushing it out, telling your friends, and letting them know, because look, why not let us ride with you on your gaming experience, whatever system you be on, whatever system you be playing. And of course, we are part of the Loot Bros family. So if you're looking for extra content, you can always check out their weekly gaming show covering all platforms, PC, Switch, PS4, 5, and the Xbox as well. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. I look forward to getting the chance to speak to you further in the future. Be well, game hard, let those cheevos fly.